In this episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast, we are talking all things defense estate. $6.5 billion of money flowing through into the construction and maintenance and support of the defense estate, the biggest landholder in Australia, bigger than many European countries. And the subject matter expert I'm talking to is Darian Macey, former Army engineer, spent his career in the estate and runs a brilliant business called DECnet. So if you are interested in ever winning work on the defense estate, you need to stay tuned. Here we go. G'day, everybody. Pete Liston here, and welcome to another episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast, the podcast for the veteran business community. Today, I'm speaking with former Army Engineer Officer Darian Macey. G'day, Darian.
G'day, Pete.
Mate, great to have you here today. Really interested to unpack your story of, number one, your time in the engineers and the work you did and how that related into the development of DECnet, your business, and really understanding the defense estates, which is really your expertise. But before we kick off, mate, where did you grow up?
I was actually born in Canberra, but moved to South Australia when I was in primary school. So
Yeah.
my dad was in the public service. So I, spent school holidays at Russell offices running around
Yeah.
being a brat. But then, my dad took a sea change and moved the family to Kangaroo Island.
Oh,
So
wow.
big difference in lifestyle, and I'll be forever grateful for that decision that he made. So yeah, grew up on working a shop, small business, with my folks. They basically work 7 days a week, and yeah, that was my life.
Mate, I've got to ask a question. Are there more kangaroos in Canberra or Kangaroo Island?
Yeah, you know what? They're a plague in Canberra, I've seen, but no, Kangaroo Island are certainly a lot less now after the bushfires went through, but I think population's come back.
We do have quite a few listeners in the United States on this pod, and there is a stereotypical thing of kangaroos jumping down the street. I've got to say, I literally have wallabies, in my backyard most mornings. But
Yeah.
Kangaroo, which is Canberra, which is the capital of Australia, there is literally a kangaroo plague, and they are everywhere down there. But mate, Kangaroo Island, how big is it?
Kangaroo Island is, well, I think, the third biggest island off the coast of Australia.
Oh yeah.
It's about 150 kilometers long. It's about 4,000 population. Sort of fluctuates more during the tourist season, which is the summer. And so, yeah, main industries there are farming, fishing, and tourism.
Mate, I didn't realize it was that big. Fishing, just a quick note, that'd be like great white shark country down there, wouldn't it?
I joke in saying that it ruined fishing for me because it is so good down there that nothing else really compares.
Yeah, magic. So, mate, what your dad, public servant, so a defense public servant, if you mentioned Russell, is that where you got your first exposure to the military, or what made you want to actually join up?
Yeah, it started with that, but I had three uncles as well who were one in each of the three services, so Army,
Yeah.
Navy, Air Force. Watched my favorite uncle come through Duntroon when I was 3 or 4 years old. So yeah, when time came to choose a career at the end of high school, he was the first person I called, and he said, "Look, yeah, you could do a lot worse than going to ADFA, getting a degree, and getting a career in engineering."
And joining the green. How old were you when you joined up? Was this straight out of high school and straight into
Yeah,
it, or
17. That's right.
17,
Yeah, a
mate?
couple of months before my 18th birthday. Yeah, jumped on a plane, went to Keswick Barracks and yeah, signed up, and then yeah, found myself marching into ADFA.
How good's that? So engineering, your career in RAE, that am I assuming civil engineering, construction?
Yeah, civil. Yeah, yeah. My uncle talked me into aeronautical engineering, but when I arrived at ADFA, I realised that I was probably more suited to the civil. I think the farming background and
Yeah.
the moving dirt around was more my style.
Mate, we nearly had you in God's call Ramey as a aeronautical engineer then, but stick to
Yeah.
RAE. So okay, you do your 3 or so year degrees, you walk over the hill and you do your army officer training. Then it's over to, I guess, Moorebank for School of Military Engineering.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my first posting was 17 Construction Squadron, which was at Holsworthy at the time.
Yep.
So I've since moved up to Amberley, but yeah, Holsworthy was pretty rundown barracks there, and yeah, I think one of the things I remember from my first experience as a troop commander was just where a lot of my mates were sort of out in the brigades training 19, 20-year-olds, teaching them everything they'd learned from military college. My soldiers, my sappers were much older. They were in their
Mm.
30s, had seen 5, 10 troop commanders or platoon commanders in their time, and so these were seasoned. Uh, Many of them corporals who'd taken a demotion back to being a sapper so that they could get a trade.
Yep.
So these were soldiers in their transition period out of the military, and they had this, I don't know if you call it a scam or a little a career pathway, but they'd been told, look, your path out into civilian world once you finish your time as an infantry um, private was to grab a trade, spend your time, do your roso, and then in the construction squadrons, and then you've got a pathway out
You got a
into the
ticket on your
civilian
way
world.
out.
Yeah, that's right. So here's me, 21, naive, island kid, basically in charge of these guys were much older than me and knew all the tricks in the book.
Same, but different story for me is I was across the road at 3RAR when you were oh, sorry, you were there a couple of years before me, but I think the gates were literally across the road from each other.
Yeah,
17
yeah,
and
that's
3, is
right.
that right?
Yeah, you used
Uh,
to drive past. We used to drive past the gate to 3RER, and the trick was the joke was you'd put your indicator on and make the guy on the gate salute.
he
Take the
comes out,
indicator
gets
off
ready
and keep
to.
driving.
Oh, that's tops. But again, similar that with me, but except I didn't join the army till I was like 30, and I turned 31 at Duntroon, so I was a little bit older.
Right.
But my first platoon command at 3 was like the tech support platoon at Ramey, and again, I won't say mature because I don't know if the lads were all that mature in terms of maturity, but definitely clever, definitely smart, and
Yeah.
skilled tradesmen at that time already. They'd already done their career, they'd
Mm,
already done their trades. They're in the battalions doing the job.
mm,
So what kind of work were you doing at 17? I remember ACAPs. There was a lot of
that's
ACAPs
right.
happening at that time. Army Assistance Community. Sorry, what does it stand for again?
Yeah, it's the Army Aboriginal Community Assistance Program.
Yeah, that's it. To be honest, man,
So
for me, that was something I was thinking. Oh my gosh, can we get stabbed to go out 6 months in the middle of the desert or something? Did you do an ACAP?
yeah, that was my time at 17.
Yep.
Putting together this ACAP program and then heading out to I ended up in the Kimberley
Yeah. Wow.
with my troop 2005 and that was a really difficult time for me, really formative time. Like I said, had these sappers that they were apprentices, but they were
Yep.
older lads, and most of them didn't want to be there. I've got to say
Yeah.
they were they were really just biding their time. Some of them had businesses on the side they were ready to go and do. They had to put their lives and their families on pause while they went out and did this 6 months deployment out in the middle of nowhere. So it
Because it
was
was, yeah, strange time because at that time, you've got deployments into Solis, Timor, Iraq.
mm,
I guess we call it gonged up deployments or, dashes for cash all over the place. And then
yeah.
there's the RAE going out into the middle of desert, like important work and great work, but a tough gig, man. Like,
Yeah, there was no dash for cash out there. That was yeah, you were committed, and everyone else was, off going on deployments around the world. I mean, Band Aceh happened, and
And Archer, yep,
in that time, and they were, yeah. So it was, it was. I think morale was pretty low, and
yep.
it was hard to maintain.
How did you? How many years into your trip command were you? Because you mentioned you helped. Did you say you
Hmm.
mentioned help starting up ACAP? Was this one of the first ones?
Actually, no, no. This was the probably the 7 or 8 years into ACAP by the
Okay,
time
yep,
this one. So there were stories in the culture of and the fabric of the unit about good old ACAPs of the past.
yeah,
And yeah, a lot of it was a drinking trip, a lad's trip away.
yep,
Um, but times had changed by this stage, and the Indigenous community that we went to made it very clear to us that alcohol was not welcome,
yep.
and that made it, I think, harder for a lot of the guys to to take. It certainly took the shine off the idea of hanging out in the bush.
Yeah. Because whereabouts in the Kimberley were you?
Oh, so you got Fitzroy Crossing, and then you
Yep.
drive a couple of hours to a place called Yakanara, out in the middle of the or out in the desert to the south, and then keep driving until the last little town on the end of a dirt road called Kajana.
Kajana. Mate, and what were you actually doing out there?
Oh, that was so we were. This camp was basically, I think back in the day, it was where they'd the community had settled. Um, so there was a circle of houses, and we were building uh, a little, or three houses, three more houses. One of them was a single man's quarters,
Yep.
and doing some roadworks and little general upgrades around there as well as a little medical community centre as well.
Reflecting back on that time now, uh, has enough time passed that it was a positive experience and enjoying that part of the country, or is it still a little bit eye twitchy?
Yeah, they were like really formative for me, because I really enjoyed the element of the stakeholder community engagement. So
Yeah.
as the troop commander, it was my job to build those bridges and build that trust with the community. So that really was important for me. But yeah, there were some moments during the deployment that really affected me. One of them was there was a truck accident, where, yeah, 20 of my soldiers ended up in hospital. One of them had decided it was a good idea to have a few drinks before loading his soldiers up into the truck, and
Jeez.
yeah, they went off the road in the middle of the night, and I wasn't there at the time, and one of the things that really stuck with me is, why, as a troop commander, why was I not present at that
Yeah.
moment? And yeah, so that really, I think, has been a regret of mine ever since.
So it mog rollover or something like that, was it?
Yeah, it was a ROPS truck, so rollover protection
Yeah.
uh, truck, and yeah, they missed a corner on a dirt road in the middle of the night, and
20 lads sitting in the back
unsalted.
without seatbelts.
Yeah, yeah, bouncing around in the back of this armored rollover protected cabin.
Yeah, right.
So it made
It's
national news, and I heard I was on my way back from a patch of leave, and yeah,
yeah,
I heard about it through the morning radio. It was pretty
mate.
devastating.
That's got to be a gut wrenching moment. How many soldiers were out there? Like, were you the senior officer in charge out there, or was there
Yeah,
captain
yeah, yeah. There
majors?
was
So,
there was myself, a couple of sergeants, and about 50 soldiers. So we
yeah,
had trades from a couple of Pacific Islands, Fiji and Tonga, as well
yep.
as Aussies. So yeah, it was a pretty decent sized little community, and we were a sort of a satellite from the main squadron that was
Yep.
based at a different community, building an airfield.
Right, and then and there we go, Lieutenant. Welcome to leadership. Welcome to the army.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, that was a tough, I guess, baptism of
Yeah,
fire. Really, stripped my confidence, and it took me a while to recover from that one.
yeah. Did you do any other deployments in your career?
So I ended up after that at 19 Chief Engineer Works, which
Yep.
is the Army's deployable project management office, and that's when I really found my passion in project management and
Yep.
construction. So during that time, yeah, East Timor was pretty gnarly, and so was Solomon Islands. So yeah, my roles were uh, managing projects over there that were hardening Australian diplomatic compounds in those areas.
Ah, yeah,
So yeah,
mate.
over there.
I got to say, 19C works in Randwick Barracks for me was the land of milk and honey. For me, like being someone who grew up in Western Sydney or the Blue Mountains, for me to end up in
Yeah,
the eastern suburbs and have a married quarter in Coogee, and mate, I'm a bit sort of sheepish to say this, but I spent my whole career in Sydney, like between
yeah.
Holsworthy, Randwick, and Victoria Barracks in Paddington. I just didn't leave the place, mate. So uh, almost 10 years of PT on Coogee Beach. But, and I know I'm being very facetious when I say that, with the amount of people that have done Parker, Darwin, Townsville, everywhere else. So, mate, I was very lucky. Um, 19C works. Oh, you have Dale Pitcher. Do you know Jugs?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mate, shout out to Jugs. He's a lovely guy. One of a really good mate of mine and one of my best mates from army. So, mate, good
Very
times
good.
in Coogee.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a fantastic first posting. I think those guys that were stuck out in the married patch in Holsworthy kind of had it tough because they would then have to commute with the traffic into Randwick, and whereas
Yeah.
those of us who could yeah, go home at lunchtime and to Coogee or go have I used to go to have a surf at Maroubra during my lunch break at
Yeah, it's
James.
just it was the best posting in the world, and I lived in the married patch, literally out the back of the base. So, you know,
Yeah.
5-10 minute walk around the corner into the front gates and magic spot. Um,
Mm.
so how long did you do in the army?
Well, that was 12 years all up.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
finished the
when did you
return
start?
service obligation, and then yeah, started looking around.
Yeah, so 12 years, you joined up at 17, you're still just under 30 odd. What's the real
Mhm.
inclination for change here and time for transition?
It came about through first child coming along,
Yep.
and I think a lot of people were deploying in Afghanistan.
Yep.
Um, I'd I'd somehow not got myself a job in Afghanistan. I thought, it's only a matter of time before I end up heading off over there, which would have been great. I would have really enjoyed that before child. So like it's like
Yeah.
BC, and then but after
CNAD.
after
Yeah.
becoming a after becoming a dad, that was sort of completely opposite from my priorities. So I
Yeah.
realized I've got to prioritize family.
Yeah, mate. I can't fault that. It was probably the big driver of me for transition as well. Is uh, I just again I don't want to talk for people who don't, but it's a tough gig on families and it's a tough gig on soldiers when you have to go away. But at that time, at that tempo of what everything's happening, it was just not just going away once, but be prepared to go away multiple times. Until you're either
Yeah,
transition or it's just the way it
and
was.
yeah, that was part of it. I mean, I think I came into the military with a pretty set plan of doing that time, picking up the degree. I ended up with a master's as well before I transitioned, and my plan was to get into construction from
Yep.
there. So yeah, did some time with my last posting. was at the Land Warfare Centre doing as a project liaison role, which exposed me into the defence estate. And I got to travel around Australia to lots of different bases. So got to build my network, and then yeah, that meant that I had something um, lined up when I left.
So, DECnet, what does that stand for?
So it's the Defence Estate Community Network.
Okay. Yeah,
So
brilliant.
what basically the Defence Estate is bigger than just the defence organisation. It's bigger than the defence industry. It includes the entire supply chain that goes into making the defence estate possible, making it run. And I realised that there was a need to represent that community.
And I think it's clever because let's actually, before we talk about DECnet, did you start that business straight away or did you go into another job slash career and then start it up later?
Yeah, no, that came a lot later. So I did a bit of a tour through working for uh, contractors,
Yep.
project management firm, and then an engineering design firm. Mostly working back into defence during that time. So
Yep.
yeah, got to see the defence estate, the defence infrastructure sector from three different angles, as well as the original angle that I'd come from as an end user and user's representative. So I think that gave me a really unique perspective on this sector, and that yeah, that I guess became my specialization. So I realized that
Let's, let's
go
just
on.
unpack a little bit about the defense estate. How big is
Yeah.
it? How many properties does defense have around the country?
Oh, there's hundreds of properties.
Hundreds.
I don't have the figures right in front of me, but yeah, hundreds of properties, leased as well as owned properties. It's Australia's biggest land holder, biggest estate portfolio or property portfolio. So, and it covers the entire length and breadth of this country, right? So it's an absolutely massive portfolio to have to manage.
I can only imagine that if you were to put places like Coltana,
Mm.
Sorry,
Yeah, Woomera, yeah.
Woomera, yeah. Coltana, Woomera, High Range, Holsworthy,
Mm.
Mount Bundy, all of these massive ranges, they'd have to be bigger than some European countries.
Yeah, absolutely. In Bradshaw field training area in the Northern Territory alone is bigger than many of the countries in Europe, and so
It
that's
was,
it's a huge undertaking.
it was funny. One of the things that I was a little bit surprised with going through my army career is just the way that the estates are managed. Yeah, like it's not just going in there and just blowing shit up and blowing bombs and trashing the place. Even in
Mm.
terms of the way the ranges are looked after and the way you almost, I'm not going to say tread lightly or leave no footprints because we definitely leave footprints, but
Yeah.
it is uh, a custodianship of these ranges for the future purpose of the military, and you just can't go and blow the place up and trash the place and get out of there again, which was, I don't know, rather a naive kind of thinking,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. It needs to be managed and it needs to be maintained. And so my last posting was in Canungra, and that's some of
yeah,
the most pristine, untouched
beautiful.
uh, landscape in Australia.
Yeah.
And the military takes that role, the defence estate takes that role very seriously. And that it goes right through to things like weed eradication and wildlife
Yeah.
preservation. Um, so yeah, it's a really really important responsibility.
And we are so lucky in Australia, particularly from a training perspective, that we've got nearly every training climate available to us. I don't know how much, snow or you know, how much we can do in
Mm,
terms of Arctic or Antarctic training, but in terms of, desert, plains, rainforest, we've got
yeah.
the whole shebang, tropical,
It's a
somewhere
massive
around
draw
India.
card. It
Massive.
really is.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder that countries like Singapore uh, see the benefit and see the enormous value in coming to Australia and using these facilities. And they invest willingly in our facilities, in our training areas, so that they can come here and exercise. I mean, you got a
Nope.
country like Singapore, you got
Yeah.
almost nowhere to exercise, so
Nowhere.
you've got to go offshore to do it.
And, in terms of the timing, we're recording this just in the first week of August. Talisman Sabres just wrapped up. Look, and
Yeah.
look, I've done a few Talisman Sabres, but there would be tens of thousands of soldiers up there at the moment from around the world, and ships and
Mm,
planes and all sorts of things, on this defense estate. Um,
yeah.
in terms of, DECnet, tell me what made you transition from job into doing this for yourself? Because obviously I'm a single issue zealot about veterans in enterprise and veterans starting small businesses. What was that moment when you thought, I've got something offered here, I've got a problem to solve, and I'm going to jump in and do it myself?
Yeah, so it happened. I mean, going a long way back, I was really interested in, and I was teaching at School of Military Engineering. I was teaching the staff map, so military appreciation process, and using particularly terrain analysis.
Yep.
So understanding the terrain. So when you're, solving a problem or going about planning an activity, you need to have maps available. You need to have an understanding of the terrain. And another thing you need to have an understanding of is it was enemy analysis, but
Mm.
in the commercial context, that is competitor analysis, right? So understanding who your competitors are. Now, when you get into tendering, when you get into winning work as a builder or as an engineer doing design, the same concepts apply. Understanding about the lay of the land, where you're going to, and understanding who your competitors are, who's been
Yeah.
there before, who you're up against, right? Because to convince a procurement officer that you're the best person for the job, you need to convince them that you have the best understanding of and the best history on that land, right? So that is intelligence. It's engineering intelligence, and that's a concept I was teaching back at the School of Military Engineering. So, and then I used throughout my career when I got off the tools and into work winning. So I realized that there was a need for this analysis to be done in the months and weeks leading up to a big tender coming out,
Yep.
and that there must be dozens of people around the country who are all doing this same work at the same time. So I thought
Yeah.
that's wasteful, right? What if they could buy that analysis from a single source? So I started gathering, making lists of all the bases, lists of the projects happening on those bases, the programs that they roll up to, um, and the past contracts that have gone in the past. So who's worked on those bases in the past? So and then all the businesses that have contributed to those bases, and so these lists then turned into I started linking them together and it became a database. And then
Mm.
yeah, basically showed it to my first client. He loved it. He said, "Can I
He's like,
subscribe?"
this is gold. Yeah.
Yeah, he said, "This is exactly what we need to give us the edge and help us understand leading up to a project. Uh, should are we in a place to win this or not?
Yeah.
Because that's a really
And
key decision for a business."
well, that's exactly what happened to me is I am super interested in supporting veteran-owned businesses get onto military bases. Just before I
Mhm.
go there, what is the size of not the physical size, but how much money in contracts would be going into defense state? Do you know that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So. It's about $6.5 billion a year.
6.5 B for $1 billion a year.
Yep, that's right. Per
Yep.
annum
Yep.
is spent on the defence estate, and that is broken up into really probably in thirds between small, medium, and large contracts. Right, the
Hmm.
small stuff is the break fix, maintenance, and upkeep. Then you've got the major projects, so the giant tier ones that are doing $100 million, $1 billion, some of them
Bids. Yep.
projects over multiple years. And then there's this group in the middle that's commonly referred to as the mediums.
Yep. Now, when I think about that, I sort of look at the life cycle of a piece of capability, like a tank or a ship or
Mm,
something. Is it managed in the same kind of way in terms of new product, sorry, new project or new capability, bringing it in, getting it
yeah.
going, and then having the sustainment and maintenance for the life of type? Is that the broadly the same kind of methodology used on the estate?
Yeah, it is, that's particularly important when for the major projects when there's responsibility to gain approvals, right? It's really important to tie back the dollars that are being spent to the capability that it serves.
Yeah.
So, and Security and Estate Group, which is the group that manages that $6 billion, they yeah they've been going through a transition where in the past it's just been they had what was called redevelopment projects and
Yep.
midterm refreshes, and when they were really thinking base by base, and
Mm.
now it's transitioned, and I think they've moved away from that into capability base. So every project is tied to a capability. Okay.
Interesting. Because if we sort of, like, again, in my very humble experiences, we had this sort of phase, oh, sorry, in the sort of evolution of the Australian strategic picture. Are we
Mm.
either defending the North or are we not defending the North? And then we go back into defend the North again. And then, one armored, let's put everything up in Darwin. And oh, hang on a sec, one armored needs to go back down to Adelaide. And then, oh, hang on a sec, the Marines are coming to Darwin now. And like the continual strategic posturing from a capability perspective must have massive implications on what happens on the dirt, buildings, training facilities, all this kind of stuff.
Mm. Yeah, it absolutely does. And we've seen that in the past 18 months since the strategic review and the new National Defence Strategy. There's been a restructuring of the projects that were happening at the time. There was a pause, and everyone um, was basically told to down tools while they went back to first principles and thought, well, are we building in the right place?
Yeah.
Is what we're doing right now really serving our strategy, right? And I think as a business owner, a lot of small businesses have suffered as a result of that, and they've been I think there's I use the word carnage. Well, businesses have gone under, and people have lost their jobs, all because right the projects that they'd probably spent a lot of time and effort winning were then put on hold or cancelled. And defence
Mm.
reserves the right in its contracts to do that. But there is a flow-on effect to business. So one of the messages I I take to my clients is the risks that are inherent in defence contracting,
Yep.
because at the end of the day, it's all about capability, right? And so there are contractual clauses that you need to protect yourself against, and one of them is that defence can pack up its bat and ball and go somewhere else with very little notice.
And it doesn't, nor will it apologize. Just like they'll post
No,
you wherever they want to go, or they'll send you overseas with a baby
yeah,
coming.
yeah, and
Defense will do what defense does.
yeah. That's right. They don't care about your business. They care about capability. Okay,
Yep.
and so it's your responsibility to take the right actions to protect yourself.
Do you see too many businesses being over reliant and not diversifying enough out of the defense estate? Like you if it's that risky, you can't put. It seems risky to put your eggs in one basket. Like
Yeah, it
there's
does.
it could be very lucrative, but at
Yeah,
the same time, you've got to understand that risk threshold.
that's right. Yep. I think, and us as veterans, we understand that inherently because that was the nature of our work. Nothing's ever certain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think um, there's absolutely businesses out there that have become over reliant on their contracts and fall into the trap of thinking that this milk and honey will
Mm.
flow forever. Yeah, nothing's ever permanent.
But I'll come back to that point you said before is the way that you applied, staff map or IMAP into your business consideration. This is just all, should be par for the course in what we do, taking those military skills and putting into our planning considerations anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a contract is no different from your uh, the 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 mission.
Yep.
Um, the brief that you've received and by from your higher commander, right?
Yeah.
You got to understand those terms and what they mean for your business.
Well, I'll show you one of the things, or I'll share with you one of the things that sort of really sort of pricked my interest about DECnet is, again, I'm a single issue zealot. I started VBC for the sole purpose of helping veteran business owners be profitable and resilient. And when I look at $6.5 billion worth of spend per year, that for me
Mm.
is like a river flying past. How can we as a community, just divert a little bit of that river into our
Mm.
businesses? Uh, I think it's actually a great story and a story that defense should really invest in to put veteran-owned businesses back on bases. Number one, from a security perspective. Number two, we understand from lived experience how important those places are and what they mean to the capability of our peers that are behind us that are still serving.
Yeah,
Uh, but again, for me, it's not about throwing bones or handouts to veteran-owned businesses. We want to be there because we're quality people that understand defense industry. And so I'm super, all in on veteran-owned business on the estate. But for me, one of the things that I don't have a lot of experience with the commercial contracting. And when I stumbled across DECnet, I didn't even know you were a former AJ. So that's just a little bit of icing on the cake. But I was just like, man, this has got what I need here in terms of for me to understand what's actually going on from a contracting perspective. Tell us
yeah,
about your products. What do you do at DECnet?
yeah. Okay, so I take us back to when I first started. So I built this database, right? And once I realized that every listing in the database had a latitude and longitude, a grid reference. So then I placed it on a map
Yep.
and started to create maps of information that could be useful at a point in time. So yeah, at its core, DECnet is a geodirectory, a map-based directory of information. So there's a subscription model there. That you can query the database as a visitor to the website. Um, say you wanted to just look at all the bases in New South Wales or all the contracts currently or in the last 12 months on Williamtown.
Yep.
Uh, or it might be that you just want to look at I don't know, all the small construction or Indigenous construction businesses around Holsworthy.
Yep.
Those sort of queries can easily be done. And I'm not talking about all Indigenous businesses, but all Indigenous businesses that have had a contract on a defence base in the past 10 years, let's say, because the data goes back to about 10 years, at a place in Australia. Okay, so that's the market intelligence that you do during that terrain analysis or competitor analysis phase of a tender. All right, so yeah, you can for about just under $50 a month, you can get access to that information. But beyond that, I've created a course, and it goes for 30 weeks, and it is basically defense market induction training. So
Yep.
it takes you through, and it's written content, takes you through uh, the organization that is Security and Estate Group, their contracting processes, and a little bit about how to present your capability to the defense estate organizations. So how to pitch yourself, how to partner up and win work on the estate, and then how to deliver it. So a lot about the different risks, and I talked about the specific risks a little bit earlier. But so that's a big part of the course. And this is fed to you weekly via email. So when you subscribe, you can slowly build your vocabulary and become more informed um, to help you, yeah, help you become an informed person on the defence estate.
And if you're informed, you've got, again, the intelligence, and you've got the intelligence, you've got the opportunity to win. And that's
Yeah,
what we're
yeah,
really here for.
credibility. It's all about having credibility when you go into that first conversation. I mean, a lot of people who call me up say, "Can you do introductions?" I tell them, "Look, my network includes all the major uh, builders, architects, engineers, and I'll introduce you to all of them. But I'm not going to do that until you have a basic understanding of the estate, and you can talk credibly about how your business can contribute."
So an introduction to a dangerous thing, mate. I think that should be sparingly used, and
Yeah,
only
absolutely.
put it's your credibility on the line ultimately.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. So your understanding and being able to pitch yourself is the first step.
The defense, um, defense, security, and estate. Sorry, what was the actual group called again?
Yeah, security and estate group.
Are they under CDF, or are they under the
So
the head bureaucrat? Is it Department? It's
yeah,
Department of Defense. Not sorry. I'm all over the shop here with my org chart. Where do they sit in the org chart?
yeah. So under VCDF, you got so the
BCDF.
first assistant, well, the deputy secretary of the Defence Estate, Celia Perkins,
Yep.
and then first assistant secretary for both the infrastructure division and service delivery division. So those two divisions of the estate, one does the sort of base services, your EMOS contracts and
Yep.
your facilities management, living and working services, and then the other side looks after capital infrastructure. So the estate planning. So you think about it at a local council level, you've got like your planning department. Well, this is the same thing. So
Mm.
planning long term, zoning, and then capital works delivery. So actually going out and delivering these projects. So that's a group called Capital Facilities and Infrastructure Division, which is
If,
where most of the money goes.
mate, if I can just put a small business owner's hat on for a moment,
Mhm.
what kind of assurance or compliance or internal administration slash governance do you think you need as a baseline to be able to start bidding for this work? Do you need DISP, for example, to be on a base?
Yeah, that's short answer, no. No,
Yep.
you don't. So DISP and Federal Safety Accreditation are two of the sort of benchmarks that people are often compared with, but neither of those things are required to start. Right, the first thing you need, I think, is a product or service that's needed on a base. And but there's small contracts for all across the country doing the minor works. Okay, and there's also subcontracts.
Mm.
So under every major project there is it's broken up into subcontracts, and so doing those work, you can work underneath the DISP and Federal Safety Accreditation of a larger firm, and you
Got it.
use those as stepping stones for your business But at a point in time, yes, to go out and deliver work over a certain threshold, you will need those accreditations. But that should not be the first thing you go out and spend your money on.
Well, this is the thing that, where I'm really looking forward to working with you and DECnet is, and we've talked about it previously, this rising tide floats all boats within, the veteran business community. And it's something that again, I'm super passionate about is how we're going to, lift our community and lift our businesses to be able to go for some of these more, mature and hopefully stable contracts,
Mhm.
noting the risks that are involved with anything with defense. But,
Yeah,
I think it's something that, for me, stumbling across you and what you do. And again, the fact that I was pleasantly surprised, a former army guy is doing this. I think it's really exciting for the veteran business community in general, how we
yeah,
raise our profile. And again, $6.5 billion worth of spend, you know, where can we get in on that? Not because we need a handout, but because we are great business owners who understand the estate, who
yeah.
understand defense and have a go at it.
Yeah, I think beyond more than that, veterans are, I use the word force multipliers.
Yeah, I agree.
We are force multipliers, which means, and it means you can put one veteran in a team of non-veterans, and that knowledge will dissipate amongst that group, and you'll have a much higher, better capability for performing on the estate, right?
Mate, you're running a course in Sydney, a bit of a boutique workshop. Tell us about
Yes.
that course coming up. I believe it's the 27th and 28th of this month, August.
That's right. That's right. That's part of a tour I'm doing. So launching a Australia-wide tour over the next 5 months.
Yep.
So between now and Christmas, I'm hitting the road, going to 8 different cities, and taking the course that I described to you earlier, Mastering Defence Infrastructure, and turning that into a 2-day intensive. Um, Doing the first one next week in Darwin. Um, from there, yeah, it'll be Sydney at the end of August, Adelaide after that, and then yeah, Townsville, Melbourne, Perth, Canberra by the end of the year.
Mate,
Brisbane.
we'll put all of those details into the notes below and all the links across to DECnet. I'm really looking forward to learning more about the estate at the course on the 27th and 28th. But if you're listening to this and it's too late to get onto that, just simply get onto the website and see where the next one closest to you is. Um, Again, I just want to sort of summarize by I've been super interested to understand the defense estate, but where do you start? And it's that sort of I don't know what I don't know about it. But then I
Mhm.
came across DECnet and I was just like, mate, this is a bit of a single source of truth here for me to really empower and upskill me to understand how I can support the veteran community, literally win these contracts. So it's a brilliant product. It's a brilliant source of information, and it comes from just years of being in the game and expertise and those connections to develop it.
Thanks, Pete. That's really kind of you.
No, mate, that's what we do. Got to blow a bit of smoke if we can. I got to say, when you're down in Adelaide, can you sneak across back to the island? Do you still have like roots or connections to the place?
Yeah, yeah, got a little boat over there that I'm gonna hopefully try and get out and do some fishing on.
Oh, lovely. So you've actually have a boat on Kangaroo Island still?
Yes, yes. I don't own any property over there, but that's my little footprint on the island, my little toehold, and yeah, I've got a bunch of mates over there. It's a brilliant community, uh, and yeah, love to get back there and connect whenever I can.
Hey, mate. Well, listen, I'm really excited about meeting you and understanding more about what you do because again, there is how we are going to position ourselves and create demand for the veteran business community. One of the things that I'll be doing is I don't know if lobbying is the right term, but representing and advocating and pushing for get more veteran-owned businesses into supply chains. And I honestly think that if defense and defense estates can't do it, then why would anyone else do it? So And again, not for handouts, not for charity or throwing us bones, as great commercial decisions about
Yeah.
why we are good business owners and why we
We will
why
de-risk your
we should
project.
do.
We will
Yeah.
de-risk your project. That's the message, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, mate, if you're interested in learning more about what's on the Defence Estate calendar, do you have any information that we can go find?
Yeah, that's right. So I've just launched an events calendar on the website. So decnet.com.au/events. And that includes not only the events that I'm running, but also lots of networking events, lots of industry events, particularly the briefings that come out periodically from Security and Estate Group. So check it out, decnet.com.au/events, and um, great place to find those info.
Yeah, so it's quite simple. If you're interested in defence estate, if you work on the defence estate, if you're anything to do with defence estates, just get in touch with Darian and check out that website. Mate, thanks for joining us today. You're going to hit the road a little bit. I will see you in Sydney in a couple of weeks. DECnet, that's Delta Echo Charlie November Echo Tango.com.au. We'll also make sure that you can connect with Darian on LinkedIn and all of that good stuff. Mate, have a great day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So, Pete Liston, really exciting for the opportunities ahead about, again, how we as a community tap into that $6.5 billion worth of spend as great partners and great providers in the supply chain for the defence estate. So, rightio, that's it. Military Mindset for Business, all done.